Toya. Haley. Get down. That's why I didn't want to. Happy Tuesday. I wasn't sure if I was going to come on, but I had today off, so I'm like, let me hop on. I'm kind of just like getting up, which is very unlike me. I usually get up really early, but after I took the kids to school this morning, I came back and went to sleep. Hey, Osha. So I'm kind of like just getting my day started. I had a good little nap. I feel like this time change has really been fucking me up. I feel like I can't, like my whole little rhythm is off. Happy Tuesday, happy Mars Day. Do y'all do better, like, I seen somebody talking about this, like, are you a rhythms person or a discipline person? I think I'm more of a rhythm. Like, so when a season change or time changes, like I have some type of change in my life, I feel like my rhythm is off. And so right now I'm trying to get my rhythm back. Hey, lady. You're a little bit of both. Lady, I was asking, are you a rhythms person or like a discipline person? So I was saying like this time change has kind of got me off my little rhythm. And now I'm trying to find my rhythm again. I'm kind of just waking up today. Yeah, definitely rhythm. Like the time change on top of me being off of work, which I would have thought that being off of work would have helped, but because oh, you took your walk this morning? Good for you. How was it? I would have thought me being off from work would have been helpful, but it kind of wasn't because I've been dilly-dallying. It was fabulous. Good. Did you go in your neighborhood or did you go to the park? I'm happy you're in here too, because what I wanted to talk about was what we was talking about yesterday about loneliness. Oh, okay, good. Did you find like, because I find whenever I walk through my neighborhood, and I've been walking through here for the past 3 years, but I feel like I always notice something different. Like whether it be a house that I didn't notice before that had like a random door, or I don't know. I just always find like really random things. Like the last time I went walking yesterday, it was a tree in particular. And I was like, what the hell happened to that tree? Because it looked like animal claw marks around the tree. And I was like, I never noticed that before. That's one of the things I like about doing the silent walk is that I notice things that I'm more aware. Hold on, y'all. I feel like I can't concentrate. This music on top of, hey Eli, on top of my dishwasher in the background is distracting me. So one of them gotta go. Okay. So today I don't really have no notes or nothing. I just kind of, I like to just pull a card for myself every day. And I got the intuition card. And it made me think about a conversation we were having. I was having with Lady yesterday in regards to loneliness. And like the difference between aloneness and loneliness. And I think a lot of times we stay in environments or relationships out of the idea of not wanting to separate from a person. I did see a tree stump with like a 3D heart. Oh, that's so cute. What was I saying? Oh, that like we'll stay in spaces or relationships or environments where we're alone anyway, but thinking like the aloneness will get worse or it will feel more painful if we let someone go, when really we're alone anyway. And the loneliness doesn't get worse, it's just different. And I think it's different because it's clarifying, because now your loneliness makes sense. If you're in isolation, loneliness makes sense because you're isolated. And so I've had to realize, like in me, kind of like cutting my family off and choosing to walk away from friendships, is like nothing about my life and my day-to-day really changed. If anything, I think I could hear myself better. My intuition has only gotten sharper because I don't have other voices to take into consideration or to doubt myself. And so I do like a little mini reading on myself every week. I told you I didn't like cycle sync my whole life. And so last week when I was talking about like being in unfamiliar territory and I know I'm in a new space, is because it also came into my little mini reading for the week. And instead of that being exciting, it felt uncomfortable, because I think in isolation, I have kind of built a little fort and a little safe space for myself, and to think about now allowing other people into my world and getting out of hermit mode. It made me uncomfortable because I had to think about allowing other people in, but also, do I trust myself? Can you do a how-to series for cycle singing? Yeah, I could talk about it Thursday. Those journal prompt questions that I would posted in Patreon, on Lady of the House Patreon, are actually the questions I asked. I just pull a card instead of journal. I still journal, but the card that I pull will, I don't know, it just helps me journal. And so I look at the card as kind of like a addition to the journal prompt. I might do like a 28-day, because Lady suggested this too. Maybe I'll do like a 28-day layout of all the different ways you could cycle sync, because I cycle sync my meals, I cycle sync my sleep patterns. So like on during my luteal phase and my menstrual phase, I make an effort to go to sleep on time, or at least I try to. Versus I'm more lenient with myself during my ovulation period and the week before. I can never say that word, so I just always say the week before my ovulation period. So that might be something I'll work on to share. Because it has been highly beneficial in me having a rhythm. Like I was talking about at the beginning of the live, that are you a disciplined person, or do you do better with rhythms? And that's what really helped me with cycle syncing, is knowing my rhythm of what works best for me. Because discipline don't really work, because One, I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm always changing. And so I have to be able to feel in alignment with what I'm doing. And so if I'm, like, for instance, if I'm like heavy lifting one week and my body needs and wants rest, I'm going to have to use extra energy that I already don't even have to do that. And that only contributes to me further feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and depleted. And so cycle syncing has helped me with rhythm. And I think of it as I'm always talking about devotion, because devotion, the what I like about devotion over discipline is devotion only asks you to return. And it doesn't really matter how long it takes you to return, as long as you return. One day every time I read a book, I try to write like something in the cover pages to myself, like before I read the book. And I had read the book A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, which is a really good book. And with finding my rhythm, capacity, and productivity. Yeah, and I think finding your rhythm also helps with the capacity and productivity, because your productivity is going to change week by week based on your menstrual cycle. And I like to kind of like jam pack the things that I feel like I know I need to do when I know I'm ovulating, because I know I already have extra energy. And if I don't, I'm going to have anxiety, because I think a lot of people think like anxiety is just about thinking in the future, but also anxiety is because you got a abundance of energy that you don't know what to do with. And so like if you got all this energy but you're not doing anything with it, you're going to feel anxious. It's the same feeling of anxiety, but really it's just your output doesn't match your capacity, if that makes sense. But I'll talk about that Thursday, because I feel like I would have to have like a layout of what I'm gonna talk about for that. I'm just hopping on. I don't really have no plan. I just wanted to talk about loneliness versus aloneness. But the card that I pulled today was this card, Intuition. I'll read what it says. It says, each person's road to the inner Lord is extraordinary and personal. How liberating to listen inside and sense moment to moment what's needed. And why this made me think of the loneliness, because I mean, I guess technically it don't really got nothing to do with loneliness, but it does. If you have not established a good relationship with yourself, even in relationship, even if you're in a relationship and you still don't take time to be alone, you won't be able to hear that moment by moment intuition, the guidance, the insight that comes when you're alone. And like, I guess this even applies to the conversation we were having over there at Lady of the House, of like slowing down and having trouble slowing down. If you are always having to share space with people, I think that's also hard to really hear. And like in the slowing down, in my experience, is when I get the most insight. Like I think of when I'm alone, it's like no matter what I'm doing, like even this morning when I got dressed, it was before I turned on any music or anything like that, I could just hear better. Being in silence just allows me to hear better. And I think people who have a hard time sitting in silence and slowing down, it's because of always sharing energy and space with other people. to where now your nervous system and your body and your insight is used to having other people's input into it. And I think the intuition piece, when it comes to loneliness, you only really get to strengthen your intuition when you're alone. And like you have to have those pockets of time before you enter out into the world. So like even how Lady has been saying, like waking up at the crack of dawn is necessary. It is, because I need to be able to hear my own thoughts before I clock into work, before I wake my kids up in the morning, before I get to thinking about all the bills I gotta pay, before I gotta think about just my day to day. I need to be able to hear, because there's so much that could come in those moments of isolation or loneliness or aloneness. But I think wanting to always be consumed by something, whether it be a relationship, whether it be social media, whether it be whatever, is because you're avoiding that whatever might come. Because like even in me trying to find my rhythm this morning, I've been on TikTok and I've just been like doom scrolling. My nighttime routine has been off. Even my eating habits have been off. And I've been thinking like, okay, hey Darlene, I'm gonna take a few days. I planned these 3 days off. And I planned them well. Like I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna do all the things I need to do before I take these 3 days off. But in me taking these 3 days off, I did not rest. I just dilly-dallied, honestly. I shopped for things that I didn't need. And even in the conversation of dopamine versus oxytocin, I haven't been listening to myself in that, because I feel like I just squandered these 3 days of being off, and now I'm trying to find my rhythm again. But I think it's because I have been avoiding I guess this conversation of being out of hermit mode. That's what I was getting to. Thank you. Full circle. So I was saying last week I did like a little mini review on myself. And it was saying like I'm coming out of hermit mode. I'm coming out of isolation. Yeah, because I do like to dilly-dally by myself. Or at least I don't like to dilly-dally with my kids, because then they get to begging for stuff. My 5-year-old be falling out in the store. It's like, I didn't ruin my dilly-dally. So I did enjoy my dilly-dally, but I guess because I've been feeling like overwhelmed and just all over the place, that I felt like, okay, I just need to sit down. But, okay, I'm processing this online with y'all. Maybe that's giving me uneasiness, too. Because over the past 3 years of me being in isolation, me being in hermit mode, I have had a lot of silence. I've had a lot of alone time. I've had a lot of slowness. And I feel my life picking up in a way that I'm not used to. And I feel like, am I about to lose my aloneness? Even though I feel like I was complaining about being isolated, I was complaining about being lonely, and feeling like, okay, damn, how long am I going to be isolated in hermit mode? Now that I'm starting to like come out of it, it's also kind of like, do I trust myself, I guess, to still keep up my same things that have nourished me in the last 3 years? And if I'm answering my own question, that's the reason why I need to find a new rhythm. That like I can't completely get rid of all the things I've been doing. Like I have to now merge that with also getting outside, because I have been really in a house for the past three years, and even in coming in community with you guys, and establishing new relationships, getting outside, it's like, okay, we are in a new environment. So I'll put a few cards just because that helps me process things. Uh, and so the first card out is the Emperor, and this card, it says authority. And like how that ties in is like with the trust aspect. The Emperor is like masculine energy of like, do you trust yourself to show up in that like masculine energy of protecting yourself, being in your full authority over yourself, and not going back to what it was before. And do I trust the foundation that I have built? And yeah, I feel like I trust the foundation, but I feel like now it's being tested. The foundation is being tested, and it feels like a test. But I always say, like, I don't believe God tests us. I think God is always like giving us assessments. Because I think when you think about being tested, that feels like, oh, I'm a pass or a fail. Versus an assessment is just like, okay, this is where I'm at. So this is the work that I may need to do. This is the work I have done. So I don't have to, I guess, be like trapped in fear, which is the next card. And so I think I am a little trapped in fear. And maybe that's why I've been isolated too for so long, is that my family experiences, my friend experiences have created a level of fear that, like, I don't want to experience that again. But I also know that, like, I don't think I would go through that again anyway, because of how much I trust my intuition, and like how this season of isolation and being alone has made me my intuition sharper and my discernment sharper. Mistrust, my mama used to say, it's not that I don't trust you, I don't trust the world with you. Yeah, I do. I that's it. And I think we talked about that yesterday. Like, all the things that I feel like I am coming into and that I feel like I have bloomed into, there's a distrust with how people mishandled me, mislabeled me, because I also feel like you knew all these great, beautiful things about me, and instead of validating them, instead of nourishing them, instead of like uplifting me in them, you dismissed and belittled them. to where I to so I feel like, oh, you didn't want me to know this about myself. Being misunderstood is part of the course. We can't go around that. Yeah, I think it's just there's no way around it. Like being misunderstood, and I was just having a conversation with my daughter about this. Yes, what is this? About being misunderstood, and I think the younger and the sooner you realize that being misunderstood is just a part of the program, and like you just gonna have to accept and learn how to regulate and navigate through being misunderstood. I think the better. The better. Um, the next card I had pulled to like pull all of these together was disruption, which in regular tarot is the Tower card. I know people usually feel a way about the Tower card, but in this instance, it's good. So you usually, because I look at tarot and the especially the major arcana as archetypes in different life phases, and so like if you lay out all of the major arcana in tarot, it will tell you from A to Z the process of transforming, and like how to do like subconscious reprogramming, but also like identity shifting, because that's really is the story of tarot is teaching you how to transmute and alchemize energy. It's not as I think woo woo as people probably think, but I also think I just have a more practical way of seeing things. So with the Tower card, I see it as like a system reboot and like a nervous system reboot. I think of it as like I always give the analogy of like if you won the lottery overnight, you would become a millionaire overnight, and a lot of people who win the lottery squander it or they fuck up their life because they can't handle that nervous system reboot. They can't adjust to now being a millionaire, and so they have to create the circumstances in which they have to go back to the energetic range or vibration that they're used to. And so like when you have an energetic or when you have a nervous system reboot, it's uncomfortable because your nervous system is recalibrating. And with the Tower card, it's kind of like sink or swim. Like you're already in a new, like I was talking about last week, you're already in a new timeline, and now you're having to like regulate through it or return back to the timeline you were in before. And so this is kind of just me reading myself. This is kind of like sink or swim. Like, okay, the how things are opening up, the relationships that are forming are to establish a new way of being and relating to people. And either you will be open to that, or I can stay isolated, but I won't grow either. Because that's the thing about being in isolation, that it is temporary. That like you can't stay isolated because we're not meant to be alone. Like just as human beings, we are meant to be in community. We are meant to co-regulate each other. That's the purpose of love in a way. That it requires you to consider another. It requires you to commune and be in relationship with other people. And I think as you grow your capacity, that's the challenge. Is like, in order to grow your capacity, I do think you need to have a moment to sit with all the ways that you are shrinking, all the ways that you are limiting yourself, or even not showing up for others in the ways that you could. So it takes a level of like self-work. And I don't know that you could really do that in relationship with people. Not unless the people that you're in relationship are already doing that type of work. They're also changing. They're also doing self-development. They're also self-aware, because there's just too much projection, and there's no way you can decipher between what's theirs and what's yours. And it's just, I think, harder to do when you're in relationship with other people. I don't think it's impossible, but I do think it's harder work, because you got to have better conflict resolution. You got to be able to repair. And if you already don't have the capacity that you would need to have a healthy relationship, that's already not going to be possible. So, like, it takes being in isolation. But I don't think many people talk about also coming out of isolation is also hard and also triggering in a way. And I'm just talking about it because that's what I'm experiencing, but it's very awkward. And I would say I would have considered myself to be socially awkward anyway. So, like, this also puts another layer of it. So, like, that video I did of family enmeshment also makes you have, like, arrested development, because you don't have to do this. Like, you are enmeshed with your family is all you know. And so you very rarely have to make new relationships, and even the new relationships that perhaps do come in often mimic and feel familiar, because they have the same type of traits as your family. And so now I'm just meeting different people, new people, and while that's exciting, and I think it's exciting too because it's also showing me different versions of myself too, that, like, I enjoy and like, I feel hit. Why? Let me see what y'all talking about. It's almost like you don't know how to act. Yeah. And it's almost like you don't know how to act. It's also weird because it makes you question, or at least me, if I don't know how to act, is it authentic? Like, am I being authentically me, or am I just uncomfortable being fully me with this person? Yeah, that's what I'm learning, that I had a lot of who I thought I was me masking. Yeah, I have to decide if I'm gonna be fake. Yeah. And I think I used to pride myself on, like, being not fake. But when I look back, there were so many things that I was suppressing, so many things that I was not saying, that it was like, no, you were. And if one comes from a toxic, abusive family dynamic, and platonic woman. Yeah, I especially feel like I can't be around people I have to fake for now, because I think too, with unmasking, you're not willing to put the mask back on. I think the ways that I masked, I feel like are unusual because I think I was kind of mean and like standoffish. I think uh, even like being shy, like I always thought like, oh, I'm shy, and I'm like, I am introverted, but I wouldn't say like I'm shy. I don't think I do well at like small talk and like filling the space. I feel like I'm I'm nicer now. I feel like I'm nicer now because I think I was mean out of like guarding myself. Like I like back to like I don't trust you niggas with me, and so I feel like I'm a lot nicer now. I'm a lot more open now. Like I think the only people who really knew me were like there was no in between. Like either even as friends, you would be damn near family. So like my best her ex best friend really like my sister, or it would be no in between. It was like either I love you down or I don't like you at all. And even in terms of like romantic relationships, either I'm like head over heels in love with you or I don't like you. And I feel like that also is not healthy when it comes to dating because it doesn't leave room for like a slow burn situation for like me to um like get to know you. Like, do I actually really like this person? Yeah, where you say you became meaner and more standoffish now. I think I'm nicer now too. And probably the same. You're meaner now because you have better discernment. Like now you know who to be nice to, who deserve access to that niceness. Um, versus, I feel like now I'm more discerning on who I need to be mean to. Um, and that's something also took a lot of trust of being able to trust when I don't like somebody. That like I don't need a whole bunch of reasons why I don't like this person or why I don't want to be nice to this person. That like if I'm cussing you out, I'm cussing you out for a good reason. I ain't cussing you out for no reason. I'm not going off on you for no reason. I'm not tripping on you for no reason. Determine who to start access to and where to put them instead of grouping them all together. Yeah, and Tony, you would probably know this about me because we went to high school together. That like, I was either quiet or mean. That like, only people that probably thought I was a sweetheart or are nice were people that really really knew me. Like even one of our best friends now, Jameer, we weren't friends in high school. She was more friends with my brother. And like when we talk now or we get together now, she's like, yeah, like I did not see see you like this in high school. Yeah, you probably would have loved me, Valerie. Like when I think about the conflicts I had in high school or the fight I had in high school was was because they assumed I was me. Cause I think I just used to be like in my own little world. Like I got into this fight in high school with this girl. Tiny, do you remember that fight? uh, yeah, I got into this fight with this girl. Cause she thought she was finna I think she thought she was finna like punk me or like I don't know. The girl thought she was bad shit. She beat up this girl and her mama. So in my head, I'm like, nah, I gotta beat this girl ass. I can't be arguing with her. I'm finna just hit her. uh, and tell me what I remember about you in high school. Like you were quiet too. That like you only hung with like one or two people. Oh, I got a restriction. Okay, I gotta stop talking about that. Yeah, you know, Suge Knight just gave me a warning. Okay. Anywho, I think I'm much nicer now. Now I feel like if I gotta be mean to you, I don't wanna be in a relationship. Yeah. That too friendly part, I feel like I guess in high school is different. Now I don't know. And that's why you only give your mother-in-law 90 minutes per year. I don't do mother-in-laws. Well, I ain't never been married, but like my kid's father, they mama. I always say like I don't have a good relationship with my own mama, so I damn sure don't care about having a good relationship with yours. So like I'm not finna kiss no ass. I'm not finna be goody good with your mama. So like sorry. But luckily, his mama know that about me too. So like she know not to cross no lines or boundaries. She's typically respectful, and if she not, she'll be that way with him, not with me. But I like nicer Valerie. Like I don't want to be mean because I feel like when I'm mean, it's not truly who I am. I do feel like I'm masking. Like I hate being mean to people. And for the people on the other end, they probably think like, no, you love being mean. The 90 minutes per year since even when she said like she'd be deducting time too. Tickle me. And I don't want to be nice. Don't give Armand away. I had to explain that to my daughter. Like, her friends love me now, but initially when we moved here, I didn't like some of the girls that she was hanging around. And so, like, when her friends would come over, I would still be, like, cordial and respectful, like, hi, or, you know. But I wouldn't, like, sit up and, like, have conversation because I didn't like the girl. And so she was saying, like, you're mean, like, you... Like, they don't think you like them. And I said, I don't. And I'm like, I'm not mean, but I'm also not nice. I'm kind. I don't aspire to be nice, though. Even with my kids, like, if I'm too nice, that's when they get to, like, you give them an inch, they finna take a mile. Now they rollerblading through here. Like, nah, I can't be too nice. Look what y'all do with my niceness. Y'all want me to be in here like Suge Knight. Because I didn't ask you 2, 3 times to go clean the bathroom. Now you want me to come in here like a Tasmanian devil and ask me like, oh, okay, I'm finna go do it now. Nah, you should have did it when I asked twice already. I was like, I know you're kind. Yeah, I'm kind with my boundaries, but once you get to slipping and sliding, trying to get through them, that's why I'm like, now I trust what I mean. Even with my kids, like when I get to yelling and I'm fussing, I don't feel as bad because I know I didn't talk to you about it 2, 3 times already. And setting boundaries with my daughter really helped me start setting boundaries with other people too. Yeah, I trust my word. And that's one of the things that I feel like I know people know about me is that I'm integral. So like I know when somebody is trying to shame me about something because they're going to use something that they know is something I take serious. So like the last time me and my mom got into it and we haven't talked since, she's like and you call yourself a spiritual person and this is how you treat your mother. And I was like, it's because I'm so spiritual that I treat you this way. You can't use that against me. I'm good with God. And so like once you start trying to make me go back on my word, once you start making me question something that I feel like you already know I'm solid in. That's what you're trying to do. Like if you already know this is an area where I'm trying to like break you down in, that's how I also started having better discernment because I could tell by what you say. Like you always say that, listen to what people say, but I'm also listening to the manipulation. Because it's always going to come down to shame. It's always going to come down to you trying to place some level of guilt, fear, or shame. And once I start to, like, if I read what you say and I start to feel either of those 3 emotions, I know emotional manipulation is at play. I don't have to question it. And I think that's how a lot of people get stuck in relationships is they can't identify the emotional manipulation. Even for myself, I think it has taken this long because I couldn't identify the emotional manipulation. Because when you are dealing with emotions, that's energetic. It's the unseen. So that's when people could throw rocks and hide their hands. Because even in you explaining it, it's not gonna make sense to nobody else. Yeah, and I know who and where it's coming from, but I also know me. So like now, I know I have blind spots. I know I still have my work to do, but I know my values. I know my core makeup to where if those are the things that you're saying, you also know that that's my core makeup, and that's something that is either intimidating or it makes you feel some kind of way. And so that I had wrote a thread once like you gotta stop worrying about how people see you or if they see you. Instead, take pleasure in you being able to see them. Made me think of that DMX interview he did of like being able to see a snake as a snake. And so that's why I say now I like to be as vulnerable as possible. I'm gonna be open because I'm gonna gauge what you do with it. That's gonna tell me. That's gonna tell me what I need to know. That's gonna tell me if you have the capacity for my vulnerability. That's gonna tell me if my vulnerability is intimidating or triggering to you. Yeah, it's gonna tell me if you're gonna mishandle it, and so we could get this over with quicker. If I'm vulnerable and you try to shame me about my vulnerability, oh, then I know like this just ain't the space for me because I'd rather remove myself than harden my heart because I have already experienced what having a hardened heart look like. I've already experienced what it feels like to go throughout the world not vulnerable, not emotionally available, and like having to overly guard myself, go into spaces, constantly scanning the environment to see like, is it safe here? Is it safe here? And I think when you are scanning like that, you still don't you still don't feel what it feels like to be safe. If you are constantly scanning your environment, you're looking with logical eyes, is it safe? Is it safe? You're missing the subtle ways people are harming you because you can't feel it. And so like now I feel like I heavily rely on how I feel with you. You'll be wasting years, and I feel like I don't have years left to be wasting on trying to figure somebody out. Cause I feel like I've done that already. And I feel like the only people that really can handle that are also people who are willing to be vulnerable. It's people who are also willing to be vulnerable and curious. It's a lot of people on this earth, and I want to meet all of mine. Yeah, I want to meet all of mine, and I think in that way, that's just a beautiful way of looking at it too. I think in that way, that's just a beautiful way of looking at it too. There's so much more love and experience and relationship that you are going to experience in your lifetime. Lady, I had sent you a post after our call yesterday. It was a lady. She does hospice nursing, and she was saying like the five top things people say they regret before they pass, and um, it was I think like not doing the things that they wanted to do, not saying the things that they wanted to say, and just all these different ways that they were abandoning themselves. All of it was self abandonment. All of it. And it's like, do you really want to get to your deathbed and realize that you have abandoned yourself your whole life? And I think for our generation and younger, it is truly a blessing. Like when I do ancestor veneration, um, I think I do it differently than probably most because I I will commune and venerate the ancestors that I don't know. So usually, if I'm calling on ancestors, I will, especially for a specific thing, I will be very specific and say the ancestors that existed before this trauma existed, before this pain, before this hardship, before this lack existed. And what I have experienced is all they want for you is to experience a easeful, beautiful life now. They ain't gonna come in saying, "Oh, leave me a plate of our offering." They ain't asking for no Coke and rum. They ain't asking for no cigarettes. They are asking for the way for you to elevate our ancestral lineage is living a beautiful life. And just from my own experience with mediumship, the ancestors that are coming through and asking for tangible offerings is because they still have a connection and they still want to be here on earth. Because you gotta think, leaving those type of things are dense. And so they have to utilize that density to be here. That's the whole point of them requesting it. I be feeling like that's my ancestral veneration practice is by living. Yeah, I think that's the best way you can bring generational wealth. I think that's the best way you can elevate your bloodline is separating yourself from the harm and then going out and living a beautiful life. Living a beautiful life. I could do a whole live about like I know a lot of people would feel probably a way about how I talk about spirituality and like all the things, like even an altar. And I have come to all these things, one, because I'm curious and I ask questions. But this is also why I don't really focus on spirituality anymore, because I don't really feel like I fit into those like boxes, like the hoodoo practices and like ATR practices and stuff like that. In a lot of ways, I think also hinder us because we're calling on ancestors that were enslaved. We're calling on ancestors that also had a mother womb. Their advice to you is not going to be all that elevated. Because that's what they taught me to do when I was here. Live good, yeah. But where was I going with that? I don't know. My mind went somewhere else. Honor my folks and how I live, how I dress. I keep them in mind. Yeah. Oh, I stopped having an altar too. Because I started to think of my daily practices and how I live my life as my offering. And I know they walk with me. So like I don't necessarily need a specific place. I think of myself as the altar. I think of like my entire home as the altar. Alternative spirituality, no altars, all that. That's where you were going. No traditional food. Yeah. And you know what helped alternative spirituality? What helped me come to this conclusion? I did back in 2021, I did a mentorship. I don't know if you would call it a mentorship or like a cohort with this lady. Her name is Ash Johns. I don't think she does it anymore, but her focus was ancestral healing, and she kind of walked us through how to, like, call in your ancestors and things like that. And because we were in a cohort or a group setting, I was having much different experiences than the other people. Granted, it was probably like 2 or 3 black people. The rest of them were, Caucasian. But I just feel like I was having much different experiences. And I'm like, okay, this is different. But I would rather go off of my own experience than like trying to compare it to y'all's. And from then I haven't had an altered space since then. And with the alternative spirituality, I consider myself more of a mystic. So like it is a alternative spirituality, because I also feel like I'm spiritually eclectic. Like a mystic is one who doesn't go by any set religion or spiritual practices. They only kind of do what they are internally called to do. So like, I know a lot about a lot of things because one month I might be studying Buddhism. Another month I might be studying Tantra. If I was to give myself a spiritual practice, it would be Tantra. Because a lot of people think Tantra is just about sexuality, but it's really being able to see through the lens of polarity and navigating both light and dark, positive and negative. Which is why I always say, like, I don't consider things either to be positive or negative. I just kind of see them as the experience. Like it because you can always find a positive and a negative, and you can always find a negative and a positive. So it's a matter of perspective. But in my spiritual practices, I also don't shun people. Like, I think the Bible, it has a lot of gems. I think Christianity works for some people. I think whatever you believe spiritually is because you feel like you need to believe it in order to live a better life. That's it. That, like, we are all, I guess, believing in a God that would lead us to living a beautiful life or a safe life. I think more Christians lead to wanting a safe life. But even in one of my lives, I say, like, if that's the case, use your imagination. What type of God do I gotta believe in to live a beautiful life, to be healed, to be renewed, to be all those things? Like, what type of God do I suits that? And so for me, the God that I feel like I need to believe in don't fit in any of these categories. And so I'm just open. I believe in a God. I believe in a higher power, but I also believe that God lives through me, and it's not above me, it's not below me, and that I get to honor God through my experiences. Yeah, it can work because it really goes all the way to, it really is, it's science. Science and spirituality go hand in hand. They're like, whatever you believe will be a part of your reality. So, like, if you believe in Jesus, yes, Jesus is going to give you confirmation because you believe in him. You're looking for the signs and the synchronicities that Jesus exists. So Christians have all these experiences of, like, Jesus is real because you believe in him. And I feel like God is way closer than what we're. Yeah, I agree. I think Anything with life force is God. Even when you break down what spirit means breath. So vitality. So the idea that God, spirit, Jesus is this one thing would be impossible, which is why people say God is omnipresent. And if God is omnipresent, do you think it's everything but you? That wouldn't even make sense. Um, um, but I feel like um, I'll talk about spirituality here, but I feel like in making posts about it, I don't typically like, you know, Christians be getting out of hand. Yeah, the comments they be making, I'm not finna fight nobody in these comments about what you believe in. And I'm not about to be defending what I believe in either. So, but I do think whatever God you believe in should be helping you live a much freer and beautiful life, though. Once I realized the best way to get close to God is get close to me, everything shifted. Yeah, I feel like my relationship with God transformed. My relationship to myself is what transformed my relationship and how I see God. I think even all the ways that I started to relate to myself and be in relationship with myself were deeply spiritual, but it was only because I was really connecting to myself. And so, yes, you're also going to feel a omnipresent energy there as well. So, like, I don't think you could really have a relationship with God if you don't have a relationship with yourself. Which is why I think with Christianity, you have to believe in a God outside of yourself and put all this pressure on an outside energy, because that religion also teaches you to abandon yourself in a way. Hey, Jillian. Yeah, I wish it was explained this way. You have to get to know yourself first. Yes, but I also think everybody has their own spiritual path, and what they choose is personal. And so, in a way, it still is about you. Like, my daughter's 16, she Christian, which I feel like as she gets older, I'm sure that will change. But for me, I don't try to tell her what to believe in. I allow her to experience Christianity until she feel like it don't work for her. And if she never comes to that conclusion, she never comes to that conclusion. But I try to have conversations with her to still touch on the spiritual component. So, like, we have conversations, and like, she'll go to church with her friends, because also we live in a very suburb area, so y'all know what I mean by that. And so the church she be going to is also that. And so I told her, like, I'm open to going to church with you, but we're gonna have to find a black church. And she was like, well, that's mean. And I'm like, girl, I can't sit in people's church. Like, I already am not, for the church thing. I'm willing to, go with you, but I ain't sitting in them people's church. But I still let her do her thing with that. I feel like as she gets older, we can have deeper conversations with it. And I think as she gets older, her views will change, hopefully. And if they don't, they just don't. I still think it's a personal journey, because I think the more self-discovery, the more you learn about yourself, your views also change. At least that's how I see it. But I also was not raised religious at all. Like I always say, my parents were kind of hippies in a way. And so my introduction to church was as a teenager. So like, I remember the first time me and my brother went to church. We thought it was hilarious. We seen somebody catch the Holy Ghost. We were like damn near laughing, and so it was like, I think we were probably too old to just have that introduction. So I also know like some of my openness spiritually is because I didn't have any programming around God or spirituality as a child either. Like even for my daughter, her dad is religious, which is like, I don't know how he's religious, but he's religious. So like that makes sense. But meanwhile, I was talking about when I hear people church stories from their childhood. Like one of my best friends, her childhood church stories. I'll be like, that is what y'all was going through. I'm so sorry. Like it. When I hear it now, because I have not experienced it, it's like, how y'all didn't know that was a cult? Like that sounds culty with what y'all talking about. But I think it's only because I'm an outsider in it, and like I'm also hearing it from an adult mind. So it's like, because why was y'all running, throwing up, and falling out? I have a theory with that. I think it's possession. I don't think it's. I mean, I won't say it's not a Holy Ghost, because I don't really consider spirits to be evil or good either. Like a lot of what people think are evil or demonic spirits are low vibrational emotions. So like even how I always say like fear, guilt, and shame are the three hardest emotions to process. That's also how people are spiritually attacked. So like for spirits who are considered like evil or demonic is because they have a great deal of guilt, fear, and shame, which is why they use those emotions to attack people. So like the fear aspect is because that's the emotion they are carrying, and so a lot of it's not inherently evil or bad. It is just an emotion, and if you don't have a good relationship with that emotion either, you are going to be you're going to be terrified. I have a few, but I think my mind has blocked a lot of my church experience wasn't bad. I had more pressure from my mom than the actual church. I don't think church either is inherently bad because it's community based, but I think the what makes it harmful is the beliefs and the values they try to press upon people. So like we can't just come together and love. That's the only thing I feel like I really kind of bothers me about Christianity is like y'all don't really believe what y'all say y'all believe. If y'all believe Jesus is love, and y'all not really communing in love, that lets me know y'all don't really believe what y'all say y'all believe. But even if the church was based in love, they wouldn't focus it so much on the devil and hell. Like everything gotta be about being condemned. That doesn't make sense to me. But I think if what your teachings are based in love, that should be that should be the focus. But I feel like Also, I'm saying this from an outside perspective. Just the people I know personally and like what I see socially of like the Christians, they focus more on the devil and sin over love. Even the idea of sin is, I think, problematic because it's like you saying these are these set of rules that you should not do, but then God is everything. That like God will forgive you for anything as well. So like you would commit a sin and then just ask for forgiveness. I don't know. That deeply confuses me. It doesn't make sense. I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in the church and from what I experienced. Yeah. Which also makes me that I'm a conspiracy theorist too. But which also makes me feel like that has to be more leaning to the Antichrist that y'all keep talking about, because y'all say the devil is the author of confusion. There is a lot of confusion here, and like even the people that I know who have deconstructed Christianity, say like as kids they were asking questions and getting in trouble. So it's like because they were asking confused, like they were asking for clarity, and it's like even the people teaching don't really know. Even it's a white lady on here. Damn, what's her name? I love her content because she has deconstructed Christianity, but she's deconstructed when she went to theology school. And she was saying a lot of people end up atheists after they go to theology school. Yeah, don't question God. And from my personal experience, God loves when you ask questions, because even the idea that God is working through you, if like I always say, when you journal, don't just journal and like write out your problems or write out how you feel. Also ask yourself questions. When I ask myself questions as I'm journaling, I always get an answer. If I'm in the shower and I am praying and I ask God a question, I will get the answer very fucking quickly. So like the idea that God don't like questions is very crazy to me. It's like, no, y'all don't y'all don't like questions. But I think that's because as an adult who has already abandoned their curiosity, they are not going to foster yours. They can't hold your curiosity. And I think when it comes to what we could do to like usher our kids into a spiritual practice that aligns with them, whatever that may be, would be to protect their curiosity. So that like whatever religion you go to, I hope that you're still asking questions. I hope you have a connection with God to where you are still curious, and whatever that may look like for you. Because I also know that is what has helped me foster a relationship with God, is being curious. And it may not look like being mystic. It may not look like being just, I guess, open spiritually. But even if you are a Christian, I hope you are still asking questions. If you're an atheist, if you are a Buddhist, I hope you're still being inquisitive about your life experience. Yeah, I'm too inquisitive. And I feel like I got in trouble a lot as a kid because of me being so curious. Or I think even me knowing certain things that like it's like Girl, shut up. What is you talking about? But I will say all of my kids are like that too. If you have kids, I seen a post, and this has also transformed how I connect with my kids too. Now, since I've read this, is like looking at your child's water sign, and like that's how you connect with them emotionally. And all of my kids, once I pull all my kids' chart, all of my kids have an air sign as is their moon sign, which my air element is my most prominent element in my chart. I'm like 60% Libra, maybe 70. So I thought that was cool. So like communication and talking to my kids are my, I guess, like strong suit. Yeah, even studying like last year, me and my daughter was going through it, and studying her chart is also what made me start having stricter boundaries with her. Because I seen in her chart that like, oh no, I can't be passive with her. Like it really, she doesn't thrive with gray area. And I always say I'm not an astrologer, but over the years I've learned a lot, and you can just learn so much about yourself and others looking at your astrology, especially when it comes to like moon signs. That like, if our moon signs don't mesh well, emotionally, we're not going to mesh well either. Yeah, the post that I seen, they were saying like if your child's moon sign is water, which my moon sign is water, and this is what like let me know it's true too. So like my moon is Cancer, so like when I am trying to emotionally process something, I'm always either in or near water. So like if I feel emotionally stuck or stagnant, I know I need to take a bath. Like I think anybody who knows me knows if I'm going through something, because I will take like 3-4 showers a day. I will take 2 baths if I need to. I'll get up in the morning, take a bath at night. I'm like always in water, especially now that I live in Texas. There's no like local beaches, which I hate, because I feel like being at the lake is different. But I miss the beach so bad. Every time I go back to California, that's like my first stop. Like I miss the beach so bad. But I'm always like I need to get by water. But like with my kids and their moon signs being in air, either talking to them or taking a moment to breathe with them, especially my 10-year-old, because he gets very like emotional. And so with him, and I've been doing this since he was little too, that like, because I know he needs to process the emotions, I'll let him process, and then I'll ask him like, do you need a hug? And he even now still says yes. But also like just hugging him and breathing with him for a couple minutes or seconds, whatever. And then like with my daughter, she's an Aquarius moon, so like emotionally, I can't tell her, like we can't talk until she has come to her own like understanding of the problem. Because with Aquarius, they are innovative, and so they like to know. And so like you telling them something is not going to work. She got to feel like she arrived to that conclusion on her own. which is very hard now that she's a teenager. So, but this is fun, y'all. I guess I'm gonna probably go get me some lunch or something. If y'all don't have any, do y'all have any questions or anything y'all wanted to talk about before I hop off? I ain't in no rush. Today was kind of just like I guess, shoot the shit day. I kind of processed my own shit in the beginning, but I'm open if y'all have any questions. I drop my cards. Okay, anybody said that? That's why I take that as a no. I'll be back Thursday. I'm gonna talk about cycle syncing. Cozy Rosie had asked, will I talk about cycle syncing? And I'll talk about cycle syncing in terms of dreams, and cycle syncing like your rhythm, like finding your rhythm with cycle syncing. And I may put together some type of 28-day thing that can help with cycle syncing. Monet Eloise, I'm not sure if it was you or Ariane. I know one of you had asked, like, in regards to cycle syncing, what happens if you are, already in menopause? And I've been sitting with that question since then. I don't know if it was Monet Eloise or someone else, but I've been sitting with, like, what does happen in terms of our rhythm when we're no longer menstruating. And I think there is a freedom that comes with that, like not having your cycle anymore, and you're no longer pulled in these different directions each week. But I do think you would have to really already be home within your body in order to have a easeful, I guess, menopause transition, if that makes sense. And like, I guess I'm at the age where I'm starting to be in pre-menopausal, which is why I think I'm so intrigued about cycle syncing, because I think you really kind of have to before you start to transition. Because I really feel like we were not prepared. Like, why no one has been teaching it? Like, I think like your different phases should be taught when you get your period, and then like in school, and like that should be something that we should be taught as women early on. Like, there's no reason why I feel like I'm in my late 30s just learning about we got technically 4 different periods. Yeah, you have to be in sync with your cycle to properly go through perimenopause and menopause. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm learning. Like, you have to already be thinking about that beforehand. And I'm trying to think, like, because my mom, she went through menopause early. She went through menopause like in her 30s because she had ovarian cancer, and so she went through menopause early. Other than that, I haven't really seen or been in like close proximity with women going through menopause in a natural way. I'm gonna research this, or I'm gonna, because I feel like I do want to answer that question of like what happens. But personally, I think of it as like what is that saying? The maiden in crone. Once you get to the crone stage, there's a certain wisdom that comes with that you don't need to be in all these different, you don't have to be tugged in all these different directions to get insight. Because part of, I think, the different phases that we go through are different, like, life lessons too. So I'll be talking about that on Thursday. And more, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Oh, in more depth. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for keeping me company and joining in. Y'all have a beautiful day. Talk to you soon.